Hey there, it's Lauren, owner of Imagined Awakenings, and I'm ready to get creative with some resin. So, as always, please remember safety first. Always wear your safety gear and work in a well ventilated area whenever working with epoxy resin. So, in this video, I'm going to make some more of my new favorite trays, which are super versatile. Like, they could be for little trinkets, your favorite jewelry, even ashtray, like whatever, the sky's the limit. And then on the other side, I've kind of prepared an area to make a freeform vase. So I have combined both parts of my resin. I usually warm it up a smidge in the sink, just to kind of loosen it all up first. Like, I put the bottles in the sink with kind of warm water. Actually, mine are gallon jugs, but bottles, jugs, whatever. I usually put those in the sink in some warm water just to kind of loosen them up. It makes them easier to pour and easier to stir. And so then I pour my part B first, actually, because it's more fluid than the resin part. It's the hardener is part B, at least in my resin that I use from Counterculture DIY. And I pour the part B in there first, and then I pour the part A, and then I stir, usually for like 5 or 6 minutes, because that's what they recommend. Whenever you're stirring resin, you want to make sure that you scrape the bottom and the sides to make sure that everything is fully incorporated and it becomes a completely homogeneous mix. Did I say that word right? That's what it is today. So anywho, when it's completely clear with no traces of any kind of separation, that's when you know that you're done stirring. Usually I take a pretty close eye just to make sure, because I might be a smidge paranoid. So anyway, I'm getting to the end of my stirring because it's looking really clear here on the video. And then I decided, because I did this in the last video too, but I'm going to do a little differently. So this first part here, I actually separated out some cups and did some colors that I decided I wanted to do for the vase. And the little sort of clear plate thing that's covered in plastic, it's not saran wrap, but it's like clear, kind of a little bit firmer plastic. I can't remember what I bought. I've done it with clear shower curtains before. I think this is actually a clear recycling bag, because plastic tends to come off dried resin pretty well. Sometimes you may struggle a little bit, but it'll come off pretty well. So it's a good thing to help you kind of get your form for this kind of project. So I like this particular sort of plate because it's kind of got not rounded edges, but it's not flat, okay? So it keeps the resin from kind of running over as long as I don't pour too much. And it'll keep this round shape. So I'm just pouring the colors randomly in order that I just kind of felt like doing, like not quite no rhyme or reason. You see that stupid plastic going everywhere. The windows are open, obviously, because I just told you that the area needed to be well ventilated, and it's blowing my plastic everywhere, and it was just annoying the living life out of me. But anyway, I do remedy that at some point. Anyway, so after I pour the colors onto the plate or surface that I'm using for my freeform vase, then it needs to sit there and dry until it has a certain firmness. And I usually test it with like a popsicle stick or something that I've already used to stir the color. And I want it to be a bit sticky, but I don't want it to be sticky enough that resin is kind of pulling up from the plate when I test it. I don't know if that makes sense. But I need it to be somewhat firm, but still kind of soft for the next steps. So it's just going to sit there and wait. And over here in the trays, I'm going to add alcohol inks like I did with the feather in the last video. And so I put alcohol inks, and then I put white on top, which is also an alcohol ink. And then I pour more resin on top to kind of disperse the color and push it down in the mold. And then I rinse, repeat until I'm happy with the look. right, so as you can see, I'm coming pretty close to finishing up this technique here. The difference in what I did this week and last week was that I just poured all the resin in, and then I went behind that and then just did alcohol ink colors and then did the white on top, and that was it. This time I'm doing resin, then alcohol ink, white, then resin, then alcohol ink, and I don't do any more white because I've noticed that if I layer the white in there, it kind of takes over. So anyway, then I went in with my heat gun to just kind of help get rid of any bubbles, because apparently that's just like the worst thing ever to happen in resin. I don't really think it is. So anyway, I just kind of did my testing, and kind of felt like maybe this was done. In hindsight, I felt like it needed a little bit more time, but that's the past. So usually what I do is I just pick it up from the bottom so that I don't touch the resin with my gloves. And because it was windy, I just had the hardest time with this part. And then I like to use a mason jar, because of the shape. I don't know what that shape is called. Don't tell me I'm just terribly ignorant. Really sorry, hiccup. But I just like the shape because it's not just like a straight shape. It's kind of, it goes down into the neck, and so it kind of narrows down at the bottom, and I don't know, I just feel like it gives it a little bit of a better shape. It's just me. Maybe I'm crazy. So anyway, I put it over the mason jar. You can use whatever you want, wine bottle, jar, whatever you have on hand. It can even be plastic, but I just use glass because I have a trillion mason jars from previous projects that I used to do. So I was going to try to pull the plastic off there. I realized that was going to be a lot more extensive than I thought. So then I decided to go ahead and move to demolding the trays. So this first one is the one that I did pink, and I want to say copper. Yes, it was pink and copper. And I really like the way that this effect came out. It gives it a really sort of like ethereal, maybe, I don't know if that's the right word, just swirly look, and that's in comparison to the one I did last week where I just poured in all the resin and then put the alcohol ink on top, instead of the method I just did today. So it's just a different effect, one that I think is really cool, and it really works well if you have a deeper mold. And this one isn't super deep, but it's just got those corners on the side, and it's kind of hard to get the color down in there, just sprinkling in the alcohol ink on top. Yay for really long explanations. Alrighty, so this one that I've just demolded is my absolute favorite. I so want to keep it but I won't. I already took product photos and put it on the site, but I love it. And then the other two are super pretty. I always try to put something with yellow or green in there, especially green, because it's the youngest kid's favorite color, and he's always like, why don't you do more green? Why don't you do more? He's bossy. Okay, so anyway, so yes, continuing to demold these. I like to be very careful with these molds because I feel like the corners are kind of thin and maybe a little temperamental, and I want them to last for several uses because maybe I'm just frugal like that. I don't know. So I kind of baby it when I pull them out of the mold, and then I fix them back, immediately to avoid any damage. So that was pretty cool. I like the effects of the colors, how they blend together. It turned out pretty well. Let me just continue to pat myself on the back here in this video. Like, if I don't do it, who else will? Okay, so anyway, and then this is the final one. I think I did teal and silver. I'm gonna go with I did teal and silver. So this one came out really amazing too. Just kind of the way that I guess it flowed when I did the pouring and the coloring and then the pouring again. I don't know, it kind of sort of reminded me of like a ocean-y type look. I don't know, what do you think? So anyway, those are the trays. I was super ecstatic with how they came out, and so now it's time to fight with the vase. Usually when I do mine, I actually don't wait until it's fully hardened before I take it off of the glass and remove the plastic, and I won't ever wait again either, because when it's hard enough that it'll keep its shape but it's not fully cured, it has a little bit more give, so that when I go in to try to pull plastic out of some of those kind of wrinkly places, folded up places, it's easier for me to kind of move it and shift it some to get the plastic out instead of fighting with it for like 45 minutes. So anyway, I kind of sped this here up so that you got an idea of it, but you didn't actually have to sit there for as long as it took me to get it off. So this one, I really like the way it turned out. I used translucent colorants for this one because I thought it was really cool. Sometimes I use alcohol inks, but without the white, to still sort of give it somewhat of a translucent look, but it gives it a little bit more opaque. Look, I'm finna make up words. It's a little bit more opaque, but it still has that kind of translucent look. Anyway, so I'm about done taking this plastic off, and then enjoy the final results of all of the pieces. And I just want to let you know that I appreciate you coming by, and then look forward to seeing you next time. All right, talk to you later.